Welcome. Hey, Chuck. I
Hello,
feel
John.
like
Uh, can you
I
what?
feel like I haven't seen you or talked to you in weeks, maybe months. No, not months. Maybe weeks. Like, I mean, I know we took that hiatus, and maybe that was it, right? We took that long hiatus. We were doing the whole summer school thing.
Mhm.
We had such great what's the right word? Rapport. People were like, "Oh, I love this summer school thing." So if you didn't watch it, listeners, what we did was we went back to some things we did in season two, and it was the Supreme Court cases that changed HR. It was Chuck's idea. I was like, I don't know, but we did a really good job with them. And so basically, we took some of the major court cases and we talked about them. And so we brought those up, and we kind of had like a small summer school. And so, Chuck, I know you were listening in and checking them out as they went by.
Yeah, it was great, and we had a lot of feedback. So, especially if you're going for your HR certification, you really need to listen to these because these cases are on the exam, whether you're taking the HRCI exam or the SHRM exam. They do um, they do inquire and build questions based on these court cases. So you
Yeah.
definitely need to listen to them. But it's
And
good to go ahead, John.
yeah, I was going to say, and I will say, as an HR trainer, um, we don't really get into the court cases in classes, right? We don't get into the details. So if you go and you're like, okay, I'm going to learn, I'm going to go to these classes John's teaching. We don't dive into the court cases for the most part. We'll talk about them, but we don't get into the details that'll show up on that SHRM certification.
So, folks, you're listening to the HR Stories podcast. Today's episode is hot topics. John has a couple hot topics. I have a couple hot topics. We may have some stories within those hot topics. And we're just excited to be here to talk. It's been a great summer. It's good to be back in the chair and broadcasting again with our HR Stories podcast fam. So there we go. John, how do you want to kick this off today?
Well, I want to talk to you about perks, Chuck.
Perks like percolators, coffee,
Yeah,
the
I want
old.
to talk to you about percolating coffee. No, I want to talk to you about those perks and benefits we in HR, we as leaders, want to offer our employees, right? And
Mhm.
so it's a big thing. We got to offer them, and we think about what are the perks? What are we going to do? And I want to share two stories. One of them was from somebody that was in one of my classes, and we were talking about perks companies offer.
Yeah.
And they were like, we have a perk that we offer our employees that's unusual. And I'm like, okay, what is it? She goes, well, they worked in, it was either an auto body shop or an automobile service place, right? And she goes, the perk that we have is we allow everyone to work on their own car
Yeah.
after hours,
Great.
right? Which is, and you think about this perk, right? There's very little cost to the employer, right? So there's probably cost in terms of wear and usage on the tools. There should probably be some cost on liability. There's probably some cost on fluids and that kind of stuff, but it's really small. And I asked her, like, what do you see as the benefit to that perk? And she goes, our retention rate average is around 5 years.
Yeah.
And she contributed that to that one perk.
I love that. I love that. It's a big deal because when you try and work on your car, instead of like crawling under it, to have a place where there's a lift, you
Yeah.
can take your car up and all the tools are there. That's a great that's a great perk. I know you have a couple more. I have one I could throw back at you,
Yeah, no, I
John.
want to hear it.
Yeah.
Tell me.
And folks, we'd love to hear the unusual perks that you offer.
Yeah.
Just, message us. If you go to the show notes, you can see how to message us and tell us some of the really interesting perks. I worked at Universal Studios years ago, and we were owned by Seagrams. So,
Oh,
yes, the Seagrams from Canada that
right,
makes whiskey.
right.
And so, depending on what level of management you were, you got a liquor allowance. And
Oh,
I, John, was at the level where I had a $500 a year liquor allowance where I could go into any liquor store okay, and I could purchase a Seagram's product. Seagram's mainly had whiskey, but they did have some beer. They had Grolsch beer, and I really liked Grolsch. It was kind of a Heineken type beer. So
Yeah.
at the end of every year, I'd buy a couple cases of Grolsch beer. Every once in a while, I'd buy a really expensive bottle of whiskey, one that you would never buy, and this is
Right, right, right.
20 years ago. So a bottle of whiskey that was probably
Right.
$120. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know,
Yeah.
and then you literally took the receipts and you submitted on an expense report and you got reimbursed. And
That's
I thought
great.
that is the coolest perk ever.
Yeah, that's fantastic. When I got one to beat you. I got
Okay.
one to beat you. So there's a company called Unreal, I think it's Unreal Chocolates or Unreal Candy. And they give everyone in the company an unlimited chocolate allowance.
Okay.
And so not only can you buy their chocolate and their candy, right? You can have those, but they want you to go out and buy the competition's chocolate as well.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Right? And that's the purpose. Is the purpose is to see what the competition is doing and make their products better. Now
Yeah.
it's a small company, right? It's not a gigantic company. It's a small company, and they're very specific about it. But could you imagine working for? I couldn't imagine working for a company that I would be in seventh heaven. I would be buying chocolate all over the place. I would be going to all these unique little
Yes.
vendors, and I'd be
Yes.
getting this chocolate, and I would be like, "Oh, I want to try this chocolate from here and this chocolate from here," and oh man, it would be fantastic.
What a great perk. I love
Yeah,
that. You
yeah,
know, in the theme park industry, one of the perks we have is you've got your employee ID and you're able to come in and out as much as you want. And then for full-time employees, you get free tickets, so many per year to give to friends and family, or
yeah.
you have a pass where you can sign people in. And so you become very, very popular with your friends and
Right,
family because, hey, can we go to Disney today? And
right.
usually, depending on the level you are, you could sign in up to 3, 4, 5
Wow.
people. You could do it several times a year or sometimes literally almost every day, or you accumulate free tickets. So those were always huge perks also in the theme park industry. So these are great perks:
Yeah.
free chocolate, free liquor, free admission. And what was the other perk you kicked off with?
Oh, the use working on your own car.
Working on your own car.
Yeah.
So I love those great, interesting, unusual employee perks. If you have any that you'd love to share with us, let us know.
Yeah, put them in there. Yeah, put them in there. I would love to hear what other people are doing. Because it's always fascinating to me, and this is what I say in my classes: is it may be the perk that makes the difference why people stay,
Absolutely.
right? And it just may be that simple thing. We know, of course, right? People want money, people want benefits, and all that kind of stuff. But it may be that thing, that one thing that tips it. And go, yeah, you know what? I'm going to stay because I don't want to lose my unlimited chocolate.
Yeah. And you know what was cool, John, is you had like 16, 17, 18-year-old kids that were like getting free admission to theme parks for all their friends and family, and they were very popular.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
mom and dad were saying, "Keep that job,
Yeah.
keep
Keep that
that
job.
job."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, I have something that's in the news regarding a Cracker Barrel. You know, they've been in the news lately.
Oh yeah, they've been
Yeah,
in the news a lot.
yes, they've been in the news, and they're trying to rebrand, trying to be more like Bob Evans, but that obviously took a whole different direction.
Yeah.
And those of you out there probably have seen that and followed that in the news. But Cracker Barrel's had problems over the last 20 years with all kind of claims of discrimination and problems not only from employees but also from guests where they were treating and accused of treating minority guests differently, making black African American customers sit in different parts of the restaurant. Just weird stuff, weird stuff. And
Right.
the Department of Justice got involved. So going back in 2006, they did have a $2 million settlement. Cracker Barrel had to settle with misconduct at 3 of its restaurants in Illinois. And now that's been almost 20 years. You would think they would learn their lesson. But here's the deal. Imagine going to work every day and your coworkers are calling you a monkey, a burnt biscuit, or worse. When you complain, you end up getting fired. And that's the latest claim against Cracker Barrel. So Roberta Mendez, a black woman who worked at Cracker Barrel in Tennessee, Nashville. I think it's the Nashville location, one of the Nashville. She's been there since 2015, 10 years. She said coworkers and supervisors consistently use race slurs and insults against her, burnt biscuit, calling her a monkey, nappy head, and also being called a bitch. And she said her team leader even told her plainly, "I don't like black people." I mean, this is like, I'm thinking,
Wow.
really? Really?
Really.
You know, and so according to the lawsuit, she was physically pushed, she was hit, segregated from white coworkers, and treated less favorably than them. And she says she met work expectations. I mean, I want to believe this didn't happen, but we don't know. I mean, obviously, these things have to go through the courts, but she did escalate the issue. Okay, so August 2024, last year, she escalates it to corporate HR at Cracker Barrel with a formal complaint. The next month in September 2024, she is terminated. And the company says, oh, she broke company policy. So they probably picked a policy. And as you and I have talked about, John, if an employee files an EOC or Department of Labor complaint against you, you better, you better tread very lightly with terminating them for something. You better put everything on hold until that's settled, because the optics don't look good.
Yeah.
So anyways, she says, yeah, maybe I did, but guess what? None of the white coworkers were fired for the same type of behavior. So now she's suing. She's claiming race discrimination, retaliation, wrongful termination, hostile work environment. She's asking for back pay, lost benefits, reinstatement, and damages. So, that raises that serious question. Business owners, HR people, how are those complaints handled in your workplace, especially when racial harassment's involved? So there's no word yet on where Cracker Barrel is going and if they've responded, but I want to thank you for bringing this story to my attention.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, what I want to point out, right? And I think, again, Cracker Barrel is different in terms of, and I think this is true, they don't have any franchisees, right? Those are corporate. All Cracker Barrels are corporate things. They're not owned by anybody else.
Right.
But, right, this happened in one store. And it may be, right, and we're always talking about this, it may have been the general manager that did not deal with this situation well, right? And they may have said to corporate, hey, we need to fire this person because they broke this policy. And they sent it up. And corporate's like, all right, well, that makes sense. I trust you. Here's all your judgment. The paperwork's all there. It all seems nice. And not doing a good enough investigation to talk to the staff member and get in there, right? They were probably like, oh, just a check. Let's get rid of this person, because that's what the jet manager says. And this is where, and I can't say it enough, you need to train your supervisors in management and employment law. They need to know. And we talked about this 100 times on the show, so it's nothing new. But they need to know, because if they don't have the tools, they don't have the knowledge, they're just not going to do it right. And so, again, we don't know all the details yet. We'll get that all come out in the court cases, but it'll be interesting where this ends up. And we should probably follow and come back with it, Chuck.
We'll come back, because it's a big deal, Cracker Barrel and such. So you got anything to wrap us up with on this segment today, John?
So I have 2 words for you. Well, 4 words, but 2 words for you.
Okay.
Or 2 phrases, I should say. One of them is job hugging.
Okay.
And the other one is quiet quitting. So let me tell you a quick story, and then we'll get into those and kind of talk about what's happening out there in the workplace.
Yeah.
So Maya and Jamal were working in different departments, but for the same company. But their stories are so eerily similar. Maya had been a nonprofit's rising star, right? So creative, driven, always ready with her ideas. But after her role shifted, the joy drained out of her work, and she didn't resign. She still showed up, but she was stopped bringing her best self. Maya was there, but in truth, she had quietly cracked and given up, right? And then Jamal, meanwhile, never loved his accounting job. He dreamed of moving to a company with better culture and more growth. But with kids in school and a mortgage, the risk was too high, so he stayed put. He hugged his job even though it did not hug him back.
I love
Two
that.
employees, right? Two employees, two different stories, yet the organizations faced the same challenge. Both were physically present but emotionally silent or absent. So quiet cracking means that the person's just like, you know what, I just can't do anymore.
Yeah.
I will do the bare minimal to get paid. We've seen those people, right? Those people have been around for hundreds of years, probably. And then the job hugging, and this is something that, in fact, Susan Lucas, so if you follow Susan Lucas, the evil HR lady, has an article in Inc. magazine today about this. And she was saying, look, job hugging's been around for a long time, but I also think because of the environment that we're in right now, right? So we have unstable environment, right? And so the economy is just not stable. We're like, well, what's going on? A lot of workers are worried. Companies are not hiring as much, right? We just know that, right? And so unemployment is going up and that kind of stuff. We know in the, I think it's like the 18 to 27 range group of people, there's just not jobs out there for them, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are graduating from high school and college going, what now? And so they're having a hard time. And so people are like, you know what? I don't like this job. I'm going to stay here. I'm just going to be here and I'm going to hold on to it until things get better.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Hugging. They're hugging.
Yeah, and so I responded to Susan, and I said, all that's true, but what we need to be careful of in HR, and I'll just send this out to our listeners, is that as the economy gets better, as the future starts looking more rosy, those people that are hugging their jobs are going to be the first people to leave. And if we're not doing anything to want to make them to stay and we just start ignoring them, there is going to be this big just kind of rush to leave. Not as big as the great quitting, but I do think that will happen probably maybe next year, maybe a little after next year. As things kind of settle down, we understand what's going on in the economy, people know what's going on, companies start hiring more. People are going to be like, you know what, I never liked this job, I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting. John, I thank you for being here today. Of course, you had no choice because we're a team. We're the HR Stories team. But I want to thank our listeners for spending some time with us on this segment of short stories in the news type of thing, or hot topic stories in the news. Next week, we've got another longer story, and it's one about FMLA abuse and how things can go horribly wrong if you are not paying attention to what's going on with your people. So for this week, thank you for listening to the HR Stories podcast, where there's a lesson in every story.
Thank you all.